Thanks for stopping by. You're listening to How'd You Sleep?
Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm just tired. I'm sure I'm not alone. I am verklempt, fraught, overwhelmed, a ball of emotions. Certain things I fear, but I don't fear for myself. I fear for the future. I fear for people that I don't know. I fear for people that I do know. It's not necessarily a personalized fear. It is a personalized frustration and anger. I'm not going to belabor the subject, one of the many subjects that has been just plastered and inescapable if you are in the world, whether you're watching the news on television, whether you're streaming, whether you are in the social media world. A few losses made headlines over the past couple of days, and outrage has continued. I won't even say sparked because it's been there. But outrage has continued, and when anyone leaves this earth, I always think about two sets of people: their parents and their children. The statements, the opinions that were overtly attempted multiple times to be made as fact and are believed to be fact by far too many. Absolutely abhorrent, abominable, dangerous. It's textbook narcissism and gaslighting, treating someone wrong, and when the reverse is done, or when you receive what you've put out, it's problematic. The victims are now the antis. Now they're the ones that are causing the stir. And no, sir, no, ma'am, that's not it. That's not it. Many of us want simply to have peace. You can have peace while experiencing differences, but this level of your life matters not because of your opinion. We got it. We can't rest here. Still in all, someone loved him. And that's not me looking at this with this rose-colored lens and let's all just get along. I'd like to sing a world in perfect harmony. That's not that. What it is a realization that wherever the rhetoric stemmed from, right now, if his parents are alive, they're mourning the loss of a son. And right now, children are mourning the loss of their daddy. It's hard for me to contend with the loss of the spouse because you supported the demise of people that I love. You supported the demise of me. I don't celebrate the loss of any life. I'm far from that person that looks at things through the lens of Christ, but I was raised not to hate. And while any of us, as we evolve through life, we tend to formulate our own ways of thinking. But at my core, I was raised to not hate. And I feel that only hatred allows someone to dance on anyone's grave. I think about those two children. For every awful thing that he said, for every attack that was caused or celebrated as a result of words that came from his mouth, there are two munchkins that are without their daddy. I won't get into what he may have taught them. My hope is that they learn better. My hope is that the teachings shift, and that's all I have is hope, because if mom followed the same rhetoric, in the words of Mrs. Doubtfire, heaven forgive ya. So Or in the words of, is it Stevie Wonder? Heaven help us all. But I'm tired. And I know I'm not alone in that. Oh gosh. I remember feeling under the delusion as a child that so much was done, so much of the road had been paved and knocked down, the weeds of injustice, if you will, had been cleared. A way was made for my family and other families. And we live in these nice neighborhoods and we go to these nice schools and we have vacations in these places and we have these wonderful jobs, and we are no longer just first generation college graduates. We're now second and sending our third generations to school. It's very easy to get disillusioned to just how close we are to our past and how close the past is to the present. It really ties in how close we are to history when I think my father was born 2 or 3 years after Emmett Till's murder. And my parents both remember when Dr. King was shot. They were young, but they were old enough to remember when Dr. King was shot. So much so that my mother said when I was going into third grade, it wasn't history yet. There was so much going on in the nation from coast to coast. And Dr. King's assassination was just another. You had so many that punctuated the 60s, just that decade alone. My mother is still here. My mother is not an ancestor. And she has these memories, and it is something how we are trying to, our history, there's so many attempts to erase the truth, to deny the truth. Is it too hard for you to recognize how awful it can be, how awful it's been, how awful it was? Why are we denying it? Why are you erasing if it didn't happen? My parents are not ancient history. A generation ago, Dr. Martin Luther King, Medgar Evers, Malcolm X, John F. Kennedy, so many others were assassinated a mere less than 20 years before I even came on the scene. We can't act like this is so far gone. We can't act like the children of the people and the grandchildren of the people that celebrated these losses, these deaths, aren't still here, teaching our children, driving our children on buses, denying our access to certain clubs, giving us a hard time when we check into hotels. Come on now. Essence magazine gave a sobering reminder. First, when I was younger, I would sneak and read articles from the magazine. Then over time, I would start reading it, wouldn't be hiding. And I would read about women having issues in the workplace, being discriminated against for their skin color, for their hair texture, for their hairstyles. I would read about us discriminating against us gatekeeping, us holding down that glass ceiling, not wanting others of us to join in the top suites. I would have never believed or thought that we came so far to get what feels like stuck. The truth is, I feel like we've been bamboozled. We were bamboozled to believe that after the assassinations, after Nelson Mandela did his 27 years, after so many gains and so many losses, from the 90s moving forward, it was going to be smooth sailing, honey. I would watch these civil rights movies and just think, oh man, I'm so glad that that day is over. I would hear people talk about how great this president was for Black people and how not so great this president was for Black people. And when natural disasters would happen, you would see how some people got tended to and how others did not. And I'm just new, right? I'm a youngin' and I'm tired. But I got the fight in me. I can't let up. We have too many behind us that need us to stay in the fight. I wonder, how do we progress? How do we progress? Push through? How do we not grow weary? I saw this woman yesterday She recently turned 99 years old. And it was the beginning of service. I was at the church. I sing at a church from time to time. And the organist was, doing his thing and tuning. And she asked him, play that again. So he plays it again, and it's shout music. If you're unfamiliar with church culture, there's a tune, there's a collection of keys and chords that send this feeling through your body, and you just want to shout. It's just shouting is a way that we dance in church. And she just gave God praise before service started with an audience of just 5. And all I saw when I looked at this woman was the embodiment of James Weldon Johnson's "We have come over a way that with tears has been watered. We have come treading our path through the blood of the slaughtered." I looked at her 99 years. She has come through so much, almost a century. She was born after the Tulsa massacre. She was there for the murder of Emmett Till, the murder of all the aforementioned people in history. Around the time of the women's suffrage movement, she got to see Black people get the right to vote. She may have fought for Black people to get the right to vote. I don't know any part of her story, but I know she is a Black woman, and I am guessing, listening to her, that she's indigenous to the East Coast of the United States of America. And I have such an affinity for that generation. Of course, they're leaving here. And I want to grab so much and get so much from them, what they can remember. Many of them still have their memories, which is a beautiful thing. And there's so many lessons that we can gain from them. How did you get through Jim Crow, where it was illegal for us to break bread together, for us to go to certain restaurants, for us to go into stores and touch items? Now, sometimes you just get, if you're at a store where people don't think that you're worthy, you just get the ick look, but it's not legalized. The attempts are being made to take us back there. What kept you going? I often will hear people of that generation say, the Lord. I had to. We had no choice. What else were we going to do? We couldn't just lie there and allow life to happen and not push through. Times have changed. There was no internet back then. This is a different generation of hatred. Hatred multiplied. We don't have to wait for postcards to be made with bodies of our beloved brothers and sisters swinging from trees. We can just post it on social media and terrorize the families. My heart is ever so heavy. And it's easy to say that I'm hopeful. I trust in the Lord. But it's honest to say I absolutely wonder. I do wonder why it seems as though we are ever fighting for peace, equality, the freedom to exist. And so, how can we get through this rough patch? How can we get through this emotional rough patch? For the sake of wellness, what I must do is tune out. It gets 30 minutes of my time a day. What do I follow on social media? I follow wildlife pages. I really have a thing for like the fuzzy, the animals. I follow, well, this is also under wildlife, but specifically eagles. Oh my gosh, there's this one guy, Mark Smith. Oh, just see them soaring, see them eating, grabbing fish. It's just so majestic. I follow Christmas pages all throughout the year. Some of the people that follow me and they'll look at my stories and they're like, are you serious? It's June. But it lifts me and keeps me in a place that is good, right? It keeps my heart in a sweet spot. Limit your exposure. On social media, it's absolutely going to be hard because you can't control what's on your timeline. So limit your time on social media. What's a substitute for social media? If you just must have a screen, and many people will disagree with me, we just should get into silence. But silence isn't everyone's thing. I like to put on some mindless drivel or whatever type of music that suits my fancy, and allow it to take you somewhere. Allow it to just soar into another space. Consuming so much negativity. You know, you say when something is said to a child over and over again, the child begins to believe it. So, though we don't have the mind of a child, overexposure absolutely lends to the theory that you are what you eat. So if I keep hearing hatred, if I keep hearing death, if I keep hearing murder and despondency and job losses and all of the things, I'm going to begin to wilt. My insides will begin to wilt. My sleep may be deprived. My appetite may shift. I may begin to crave things that I fought hard and long to not crave because I need an escape from this. Create your escape. Give yourself 30 minutes a day. A day. Sounds corny. Find a habit that you must do every day. For me, it's two things. I resumed making my bed. That's really personal, but it's the truth. And it's something that I began to look forward to because it was a practice. I began to make my bed every morning with the pillow. I don't do the crazy pillows. I got 4 pillows and they all head pillows, not throw pillows, but do your thing, however, whatever that is for you. I make my bed and I get up and I get dressed and I go outside and I walk around my area. I do a little bit of a jog and I focus on who I am evolving into. I focus on evolving into the best version of Leah Joy. I think about tomorrow. I think about the day. But overall, I know that I'm doing this for my health. I want to get my weight down. I want to be here. So whatever that means for me, it has to start with being disciplined. So I'm up and out by 5:45 most mornings. It's not easy, but it's discipline and I'm worth it. So that's what I do. After you commit yourself to something that's going to make your life better, something about and you may ask, what is the big deal about making the bed? There is a discipline with making the bed, especially if you are like myself, like many people that I just know personally, and apparently it's a thing, where a lot of people got out of the habit or were never into the habit of making their bed. So it is a conscious decision to do something that is out of my ordinary and making it a part of my ordinary. We brush our teeth, we hope every morning, we shower, Lord Jesus, every morning. We make our bed every morning. I've added, I go for a walk jog every morning. That is something that I must do for my health. I am almost a 43-year-old woman, and I do not want to be an achy breaky person as I age, should God give me the time. And so I am reconditioning my body that's used to sitting, that's used to walking when I have to walk, but not walking with intention. I had to create new habits for the future version of myself. I have to adjust my eating habits for the future version of myself. I do have a guest in the audience today. His name is Percy. He is an 8.5-year-old pug. If the mic is picking up snoring noises, just know that it is he, not me, that is making those beautiful sounds in the background. I do apologize. I'm learning about how awful so much of what I consume is for me. So I stopped purchasing certain things. One thing I stopped purchasing was creamer for my coffee. Substituted it with tea. I gotta have my tea. I know you're substituting one bad thing for another, but I'm putting honey in the tea instead of all of the multi ingredients that are found in most of these creamers, even the vegan ones. 3, try to belly laugh every day. I laugh at things no one else finds funny, and that's okay. I have a dog, and he brings me so much joy, but he's also hilarious. He is full of drama. He is extremely spoiled, and I crack up. There are kids around, and kids are always doing or saying something. You may trip up the steps. It's is always something. Enjoy the moment. Enjoy the moments of humanity that may be embarrassing. Revel in them. The pulse is still pulsing. Revel in them. Enjoy the journey. Journal the journey. Don't forget these days. When bill collectors were calling me, when things were cut off, when things were threatened to be getting cut off, I saved some of those things. Or I took pictures of them and I journal about it because I knew one day that would be a part of the story. That is a rung on my ladder to the best piece of myself. What is on the rung for the best piece of you? Are you building? Make sure you're building with any and everything that you do. Make sure that you are building. And my God, relieve yourself from the responsibility of others' feelings. We have to care. We are responsible for one another, but we are not responsible for the thoughts of others where it concerns how we move in our own lives. So free yourself from that. Journal your journey. Allow it to take you away. And as I've been saying, the fourth thing, write down and execute. It's not enough to just write, but make sure that you are working towards the vision that's written down. I have it on my phone. In case you don't know, I am an actor, singer, and I have Shirley Ralph on my home screen, and I have a sentence in front, above her, and a sentence beneath her. And basically, it's the audacity of dreaming. Because I look at this woman who is in her 60s and is just, I don't want to say she's just hitting her stride, but she is just getting her just due as far as awards are concerned. We've known of her in our community for decades, but she's now reached a different level of notoriety. And when she got up there and won her Emmy, she said,
"To anyone who has ever had a dream and thought your dream wouldn't, couldn't come true, I am here to tell you that this is what believing looks like. This is what striving looks like. And don't you ever give up on you."
Baby, this is what believing looks like. And her arms were taut, and her skin was glowing, and her tummy fit, and her breast high, and her hair regal. It was awesome, in a word. So I have that, and I look at that every day, and getting to that, it's a reminder to me, because that I'm not too late. Because in this field, if you didn't hit by 27, you're old, you're forgotten, or you're forgettable. So I have to remind myself every day. That's also why I work out, because I want to present a certain way on screen. What if I get the role of a cop? I can't run anywhere right now, and I don't need a double to run for me. I need to be able to run. If I get a cop scene, I need to be able to do those things. If I audition, you can't do on-the-job training for a role. We start filming in 3 days. You can't get conditioned in 3 days. I need to begin my conditioning now. So I'm up at 5. I need weight to go down. So I'm up at 5. I need heart rate to go up. I need stamina to go up. I need cholesterol to go down. So I'm up at 5. I'm telling you. Now that is some good sleep. A good cry, nice rain, snow, and working out, some good sleep. Don't discount what you're doing because they haven't said enough. I had a friend, and I noticed that nothing I did was ever enough. I would create something, and I wanted to show them because their opinion meant so much. Oh, well, do this. And I'm all for criticism, but I realized, because to me, criticism makes you better. I started to notice everything was all criticism and no Go ahead, girl. I said, man, if I didn't know you better, I would think that you were jealous, but I know that that's not how we roll. So I don't know what it is, but I just, because it took me so long to get to this piece of me, it's like, I had to have that person's opinion. We deify our heroes, and this person's opinion meant the world to me. I had on a dress, and I just knew I was stunning in this dress. And, any women out there, I hear thin women sometimes say that they don't feel enough. I hear thick women. I am a thick woman. We go through a lot as women to tuck things, to lift things, to shift things. And for someone, you send a picture, hey, this is my new dress. I'm so excited. And the only thing they mention is a little bit of boob spillage. The rest of the dress fits. There's some boob spillage. They've grown, but had I gotten a bigger size, the whole dress would have just fallen. And it was the end of the night, and maybe they were falling out the whole day. But I looked at videos; they weren't falling out the whole day. And so what if they were? That's the only thing that was said. And I told myself, stop communicating with this person and having any expectation other than criticism. And if the criticism is going to bother you, then cease from communicating with them, or keep your communication at a very surface level. Not everyone is ready for the depth of relationship that you may need, that you may require, that you may desire. You have to be open to that. Everyone's love language is different. Everybody's love ability and availability is different. And be okay with that. It's a hard lesson. But once you learn it, maybe take it 2-3 times to learn it. But once it's learned, it's learned. It's hard earned and learned. That's for sure. So we're not looking for others' approval. We are finding something to put our focus on, like making a bed, going outside, recommitting to ourselves. We're limiting our engagement to this news cycle, this never-ending news cycle, and possibly following some joy-filled pages. The day that you realize that you're enough is a day that I believe the angels sing. And my dear, you may have already come to that glorious realization. But if you have not, look forward to the day where you are freaking enough to your own self. That's the only opinion that matters. So it's 2 things. Your opinion is the only one that matters to you. And simultaneously, we must remain our sister and our brother's keeper. So there's a balance, that we're not selfish while paying attention to our brother and sister. There's a wonderful way to do that. I'm not consumed with what he, she, they are saying about me. I am concerned, though. I'll give you space if you need it. I'll give you an ear if you need it, if you want it. The day starts and ends with me recognizing that I am enough. Anyway, on a trivial note, I couldn't find the lipstick that I wanted. I love MAC. There's 2, the dark side, and Sin. I don't know, I shouldn't be wearing either of them, but those colors, I adore the colors. I wanted to see if I could find them in Lip Bar, but I'm definitely a MAC girl. MAC is one of those, my cousin introduced me to MAC when I was 15. And so it's my little thing with her. Even, when we're apart from one another, that's just my little thing with her. It cracks me up. I have some family members that have trouble sleeping from time to time. I don't have trouble sleeping. Whatever's going on, I can have had the worst day, the worst conversation, failed a class, failed a test, broken up, and I will sleep like a baby. All of this going on in the world, actually, I'll sleep heavier sometimes. So that lets me know something really did affect me, because I'll sleep really, really heavily. But sometimes our sleep can be interrupted by fear. And while I have no trouble getting to sleep, I do wake up at 1 a.m. Now, I don't know if that is the perimenopause. It's so funny because now you're hearing about perimenopause. Years ago, it was just menopause. If I have a little bit of a glow, I can't pat down anymore. And I'm just scared. I'm just going to pat and it's going to turn into a smear. So you get in shiny face. Have my little fan over here. which has been a godsend. But it could be the perimenopause. It could be that there's so much the overconsumption, even when I try to limit my consumption.
Put a little sugar on it, baby.
Some sweet news. So, this is English breakfast. I love a strong black tea. And though you can't smell me, I threw on a little La Vie Belle by Lancome. There's another part of it that I don't remember how to say, but that is La Vie Belle. I love it. And even just being in the studio, in my space, you just want to dismiss the normalcy of the air and interrupt it with something fragrant and beautiful. Speaking of fragrant and beautiful, I had one of the grandest filet mignons last week. The filet mignon was so good, I wanted to go to the kitchen, ask to meet the butcher, ask the butcher to introduce me to the farmer, and ask the farmer to introduce me to the cow and shake its hoof, because what it bestowed upon me on that plate, my God. That cut, c'est magnifique. And then there was this like mousse little sauce next to it, and you had to just have it with the steak. It was, I can't say enough about it. It had to be one of the top steak experiences in my life. Took myself to dinner. Jaw did drop at the menu. Internally, you will never see my jaw dropping in public at the price. And once you're there, I'm not walking out. So we gonna leave with something. The steak was just, oh my gosh, absolutely incredible. I stayed at this hotel in Florida, and they have a farm to table situation. One of the restaurants, there's many restaurants on this at this location, and one of the restaurants uses a garden, and the garden is on site. They harvest the vegetables, the herbs from this garden. So I'm walking around the property, getting my exercise on. I'm getting back in there. You know, I lost 30 pounds, gained 14 back. So I'm walking and I see this garden and the gardener. And so she's sharing her gardening expertise with me. And she shows me one bed in particular, and it had the same plant. And she said, these don't grow as well because they're all the same. And so, of course, me making it clear that I understood what was stated, I'm like, okay, so homogeneous planting doesn't have as great a yield as heterogeneous planting, something like that. That's what I'm thinking, but also, you don't want to sound stupid when you're trying to sound, smart. So what I said was, so just like in life, diversity helps make the world go round, even in the plant world. And she said, yeah, the plants need to mix with other plants in order for the crop to thrive, in order for the process of growing to thrive and to be all that it can be. I thought that was pretty cool. I'm excited to read this. Every summer, you hear about, again, you're inundated on social media if you follow certain pages, and if it falls into your algorithm, summers on the vineyard, particularly Oak Bluffs, the region of Oak Bluffs. I met this woman, my parents met this woman, and they introduced her to us. Her name is Jill Nelson. She is the author of the particular essay that I'm about to read. From Naked. Listen, have you gotten your book yet? A few people have told me that they still need to get the book. I would love to hear any of your favorite essays and discuss any of your favorite essays. Flesh is best. I'm a writer. I live most of the time in my head in a world of words. What I love about my body is that words are not necessary to communicate with it. My body responds to visual stimuli, to touch and smell, to the feel of silk against bare skin, to my hands kneading lotion into flesh, to the smell of oils in a steaming bath. It whispers or shouts what it likes and what it doesn't. My body allows me to escape not only my mind, but everyone else's too. I cannot recall a time when I have not been curious about my body and fascinated by its changes. Fascinated is not the word I would use, but there are definite changes. I've always explored and touched it without shame. I remember the sensation of washing my genitals as a girl and feeling something surprising when my washcloth rubbed against my clitoris. Being amazed by the way my nipples became erect and sensitive when I soaped them in the shower, how in the process of oiling my body, I'd graze a spot behind my knee or under my arm and feel aroused. My parents raised me in a home where sexuality was neither denied nor condemned. Always on weekend mornings, and some other times too, the door to their bedroom was locked and off limits. Even before I had a clear idea what my parents were doing in there, I knew it was a good thing. I could tell this by their smiles when they emerged, the signs of physical affection, the murmurs and chuckles that passed between them, the relaxation that emanated from my normally tense father, the fact that my mother made us French toast and bacon even though it was almost noon. My mother was also there to provide answers for my most probing questions. She was a librarian and a great reader, and if you asked her a question she couldn't answer, within a few days she'd find a book that could. From the time I was a girl, my mother was straight up about sex and sexuality. I never believed that the stork brought babies, that you could get pregnant by kissing, and that the key to happily ever after was keeping your skirt down and legs crossed. She gave me facts with pictures and diagrams when appropriate. By the time I became interested in boys, I had already unearthed my body's complexities through self-stimulation and after-school touching games with girlfriends. My breasts weren't simply things to fill a sweater, tease boys' eyes, or in the distant future, nurse a baby. They were my soft, warm globes, pebbly around the areola, a joy to touch. My stomach was not something to be held in, but a warm slope down to that place where I could elicit all measure of good feeling. So when I had my first sexual experiences, I was thrilled but not shocked by the warming between my legs when someone else's tongue explored my mouth or a boyfriend first touched my chest through several layers of clothing. Yet, as I moved into adolescence, puberty, and young womanhood, it was as if my body had two selves. One was the public body that had to be denied, constrained, covered, and kept in check so that I could move around without being catcalled and objectified. This was confusing because it was the same tall, solid presence I'd wielded well in sports and used as a tool of intimidation in neighborhood squabbles. The other was my private body, lush, loose, a self-affirming world in itself. That body was to be put under deep cover to emerge only when? When I was grown? When I got married? All that was clear that there was no place for this private body in the public world. I saw women around me trapped in a negative narrative of its public nemesis. You're too fat. You're too thin. Learn to hold your stomach in. Say what you want and you're a hoe. Just let him do his thing and go. Your pussy smells like fish. Go down on him cause that's his wish. Nice girls don't really like sex. Now keep repeating this oppressive text. It seemed impossible to reconcile these two bodies, nor did I really want to. So as a teenager, I began the journey of saying to hell with the public body, the one suffocated by the values, judgments, expectations, and sometimes dangerous fantasies of others. I fought against being defined by my external physicality. That I turned 18 in 1970, a high point of the women's liberation movement, and 5 years after the widespread availability of the birth control pill saved me. Among women, Black Americans, gays, Latinos, and workers, liberation, personal and political, defined the times. Burning bras and looking at our genitalia in the mirror may seem strange or passé today, but the message then was revolutionary. Do your thing and know thyself were the rallying cries I heard and uttered as I stepped into womanhood, and the pill made our slogans a possibility, virtually vanquishing the fear of unwanted pregnancy. Finally, women were free to have sex just for fun. As I became sexually active in my late teens, the act was more than a passing amusement. At its best, sex is like wasabi, so intense that it clears the mind and washes away earthly concerns. Simply put, sex became my ultimate relaxation and high, and my body, not red rose romance or even soul-twisting love, it's the vehicle that gets me there. I have known a man who had a beautiful body with whom I could have sex for hours, after which he would read comic books and smoke herb as I drifted to sleep. I've known a man I called the Raptor, a wiry man able to wrap his body around mine in all kinds of ways and who would not stop until even greedy me cried, "No mas!" I have known a man with rather small hands who massaged my body so deftly that I reached orgasm just lying there. I have known a husky-voiced man thousands of miles away who could talk me to orgasm during late-night telephone calls. I have uncovered, explored, and honed my sexual character, tastes, and appetites with these men. I discovered not only how to give pleasure to another person, but accomplish the much more difficult work of knowing how to ask for and receive those things that pleasure me. I've had men tell me, most often in a moment of annoyance or at a parting, that when it comes to sex, I think like a man. Even though they don't mean it as such, I consider this a compliment. What they mean is that I'm able to have sex solely for the physical joy of it, without the emotional attachment and drama that is commonly associated with women and sexual intercourse. You know that old saying, men see sex as sex and women see sex as love? It's only true because of the blinders society puts on women's sexuality and the ways in which we facilitate those blinders. Because it's what's expected, or because we're scared of who we might discover within ourselves if we took off that harness and let ourselves see and feel freely. Imagine a world where women know their bodies, know what gives them pleasure, and feel comfortable exercising, stroking, and feeding their desire with a partner or alone. Imagine if we all knew that masturbation exists in a realm all its own, that it's not furtive or something to do when you don't have a partner. All alone, I have learned that my body is my personal instrument, one that I should learn to play and use as a tool for pleasure. Then, if I choose, to teach others how to play as well. Self-pleasuring with the help of a vibrator, other sex toys, or simply with my fingers has been the key to learning the instrument. I'm not saying it's easy to overcome the oppressive conditionings we get from our books and newspapers in our schools, in most religions, and embedded under various guises in popular culture, but I can testify that it's definitely worth the work. The alternative is to live our sexual lives defined by a sick, sexually oppressed, violent society, an oppressive patriarchy, and the expectations of a lot of people who aren't in our skin, but have had the arrogance to tell us how we should behave in both. After a sex life that spans over more than 30 years, what I know for sure is that learning the ways in which I can use my body as a tool of pleasure is an endless process. One that, like my body, is always changing. My weight goes up and down, my breasts are one size, then swell, my areola change color and texture, my pubic hair thins, the smell between my legs under my arms of sweat generally constantly mutates. I observe, take notes, exercise, make adjustments, and eat right to keep this instrument in good shape, as finely tuned as possible. I think often and thankfully of the words of a long ago lover who, when I asked him if I was too fat, gently held my shoulders, looked me in the eyes, and whispered, "Jill, flesh is best. Don't forget it." I haven't. Well, hope you enjoyed that riveting. Thank you, Miss Jill. Again, naked. Black women bear all about their skin, hair, hips, lips, and other parts. It's a gem. While that story could be seen as one of levity, there absolutely were so many gems, because we are taught in this society to be, the word ashamed is not used, but the way that so much is presented dictates that we should be ashamed. We should be ashamed of pleasure. We should be ashamed of desiring pleasure and definitely talking about it. Years ago, I said, I must be the only one of my friends, even though in this particular space, I'm the only one that doesn't have any children, but I'm the only one that has had sex, because no one wants to talk about it. No one wants to admit that it's enjoyable. And it's like, are we all walking around? Is everybody walking around bruised and angry? Or, is everything so taboo? But perhaps the culture, like, why is it such a taboo topic in personal circles? Could be the culture. I think it's the culture. But I'm going to keep on keeping on. I appreciate you joining me today. I hope that you are being kind to yourself. I hope you're being kind to one another. I hope that you take the time to ask someone, how you doing? And wait for the answer. And if you want to be real jazzy, ask them, how you sleeping? How did you sleep last night? How have you been sleeping? Might seem weird, but when you care enough, you ask the weird questions. Weird. I love these sayings. To thine own self be true. And if you don't define yourself for yourself, you will be crushed into other people's fantasies and eaten alive. Do you for you. Journal your journey. I'll see you next time.
Ahem and aha. I completely forgot to put this in. As you can see, I had to throw the wig back on and get back in front of the camera. Here we go.
I knew there was something else that I wanted to just mention. Did you see Actively Black's display their homage to living legends, the children of legends, icons in American history, also known as African American history? Oh my goodness. I mean, just to see, it was like a walking museum of historical figures. For me, I want to say they were all my favorites, but it was something about seeing the daughters of two slain, that would be four, right? The daughters of two slain leaders, the daughters of men who were taken, who were snatched away in the prime of their lives, daughters who had to, well, one daughter who witnessed it and another daughter who heard it on the news, both daughters who grew up in the spotlight they didn't ask for, spotlight they never desired, especially at that age. And I can only imagine the expectations that these sisters, these daughters, had to deal with. And I love how, despite religious differences, cultural differences perhaps, they are sisters. They are sisters among sisters. They are sisters who know the pain of losing a father. They are sisters who know the pain of losing a mother years later. It was beautiful. It was, so I just threw some photos in there for y'all. Okay, bye.
How'd you sleep, baby? How'd you sleep?